Hello everyone, good morning. I'm sharing my screen. So yes, I've explained what sort of leave plans our clients typically ask for in yesterday's session, and we could not do a full session because there was, we only had one participant joined yesterday, and it's the same today as well. But I think we'll proceed with the today's session. There's no point in holding on with a new module for everybody else to dial in. I don't think it will happen. Yeah, we'll go ahead with the session as planned and let others dial in as and when they want to. Yes, these are the typical types of leaves that clients usually have, and the first three are quite common, like a casual leaves. Front loading them at the beginning of the year could be 10 or 15 leaves per year, and that might remain same for all the employees, irrespective of their profile. And there's no carry forward option, and there won't be any, since there is no carry forward option, a limits doesn't come into picture at all. And for every leave, a client would tell you who exactly are eligible for it. So yes, a bare minimum, it would be full-time regular employees who are on active payroll might be eligible for certain jobs, for certain leaves. And yeah, for every leave plan, there would be an eligibility profile attached. And similarly for annual leave, they might say that yes, accrue leaves on a monthly basis, don't load them, don't front load them at the beginning of the year. And again, they might say that the number of leaves that should be assigned to employees should change based on a person profile, could be based on person grade, person position, person job, or person location. And you also have an option to mention the carry forward limits. Ceiling is the total number of leaves an employee can hold across the years. And you also have an option to put in an annual limit as well. And since it's an incremental leave, yes, any leave plan should have an eligibility profile attached. And you might have one more eligibility profile here, or one more requirement which might say, yes, only employees who have finished more than 1 year with the company are eligible for annual leaves. Or in other words, in the first 1 year, employees might not become eligible for vacation leave. How do you set it up? You have an option to create something called as derived factors, with the help of which you can check if the employee has more than 1 year of service or not. Similarly, you have maternity leave and female employees, female full-time employees. If they qualify for this leave, they can avail 6 months of paid leave provided they submit a doctor certificate. And during this 6 months of leave, at what percentage the payment needs to be done? Is it like 100% over 6 months, or maybe the first 3 months you pay 100%, and the next 3 months you might pay 85%. So you can set up a detailed payment plan as well. And you also have other types of miscellaneous types of leaves as well. So how do you configure leaves in the application? So the way we approach this module is, as always with other modules, we'll first configure the leave plans. We'll first do a couple of them, and then we will see how to enroll people into the leave plan in bulk as well as one at a time. And we'll also see the administration side as well. And then we'll move on to the other types of leaves. So let me log into instance first. I'll log into ETIT instance. Or let me use ESCU. And I've logged as HCM implementation user. To do the configurations in absence management, you can go into my client groups, and under my client groups, you see absences. So you can do the absence management related configurations directly from here, or you can go to functional setup manager and you can also do it from there as well. Go to absences. And under absences, if you scroll down, you would be able to see various configurations that you can do in absence management module. Absence plan is one key configuration that you typically do. And this is where you plug in all the criteria that is required. Okay, so let me quickly run you through the PPT as well. A couple of important points I want to highlight. I'll just close this. So absence management module in HCM would help you to configure absence plans for typical use cases like this, like a vacation plan, sickness plan, etc. No entitlement plan. And yes, you have screens for employees, for HR specialists and managers to go in and apply for absence, track the balance, etc. Okay, so you have, and you also have some scheduled process given by Oracle, which would help you to enroll the people in bulk into a leave plan or de-enroll them, etc. So you have absence schedule process, which would help you to do quite a few tasks in absence management in bulk. And this would be the typical this is how the framework looks like. Like whenever you create an absence plan is the key configuration that you do. So here you will typically create plans like a sick leave plan, vacation plan, and within the plan you plug in all the configurations. Like you mentioned, who is eligible for it, what is the number of leaves that should be given to employees as per that plan, what is the eligibility criteria. So everything goes into this absence plan. And you can also mention when absence plan would determine the number of leaves that should be assigned for an employee. And when you can enroll a worker manually into the absence plan, or you can run seeded process or scheduled process, and that would enroll people into absence plans automatically. Okay, that's one thing that you need to be aware of. Let's say we define a sick leave plan, sick leave plan, and it's like say the way it needs to be configured is front load 10 leaves at the beginning of the year to all the employees, full-time employees. So you define a leave plan, and when an absence reasons, okay, you define a leave plan. After that, what do? You run a seeded process so that all the full-time employees that you have in the application will be enrolled into absence plan. And if you log in as any of those employees, they should be able to apply for leave, right? So for an employee to be able to take a leave, you need to have absence type configured, because when the employee tries to apply for leave in the application, it is the absence type that they pick up. So they pick up sick leave absence type, and in the absence type, you attach an absence plan so that system knows if I log into the application and apply for a sick leave absence type, picking up absence type as sick leave, system should know from which leave plan it needs to deduct the balance, right? Because you might typically have multiple leave plans added to your account, and you see this quite often, right, with any company that you work for. And when I apply for, let's say I'm applying for a sick leave, I say yes, deduct the balance from sick leave plan. I'm taking a sick leave because I have flu today, or I have fever, or it could be because of any reason. So you can set up absence reasons, and employees will pick them up when they are applying for an absence. And some absence types might require you to submit a certificate, such as it could be sick leave or sick leave for an extended period, or it could be a qualification leave, such as a maternity leave. And the absence types, for the sake of reporting, you can group them into categories. If you want to probably track which type of leaves are being overutilized or underutilized by the employees, you can categorize the absence types so that you can run the reports using absence category. Okay, in case you have multiple absence types. Pattern and display features are fine. So if you look at absence management example, this is how it looks like. So if you, let's take sick leave plan as an example. It could be a qualification plan, or you could create it as an accrual plan as well. There's a classic example for qualification plan, which is a maternity leave. So for sick leave, we're going to configure it as accrual plan, and it is still configured as an accrual plan for many clients as well. Okay, so you say absence plan, you define a sick leave plan, absence reasons, you mention all the reasons that should be available for employees when they apply for a leave, absence certificates, And then you define an absence type. And you can probably assign this to absence category of a personal leave. Okay, so these are the configurations that you do in absence management. Okay, so these are the components that you have to set up: absence plan, type after that, absence reasons, certifications, category. And within the absence plan, you need to use eligibility profile and derived factors if required, rate definitions, which control how much, at what percentage the payment should be done, and the fast formulas if required. And you also need to have a repeating time period here. That is important one that's missed here. Okay, now let's go back into the application and start doing the configurations. I'm in absence management now. We will go ahead and define the plan. And within the plan, I'll show you how you can use other components that you see here: absence definition, absence plan. And we'll go ahead and create a sick leave plan first. Remember, what is the requirement that we have for a sick leave plan? It is an accrual plan, and we need to load in 10 leaves per year to all the full-time regular employees who are on active payroll, and we load them on day one of the period. Okay, or on day one of the year. It could be, and the year could vary. Some clients follow a calendar year, Jan to December. Some clients follow April to March. Some clients follow June to May. So it depends on what calendar the clients follow. On day one of every new year, you can front load them. It could be a calendar year, or you also have an option to use anniversary year as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how to configure it. And when you configure absence plan, the first thing you need to do is select an effective start date. And the effective start date, right? You can go back at least five years in time, or you can go back and use a start date of 1st Jan 1951. It basically determines effective start date for absence plan. Okay, so but what we don't do is we don't typically use, or we don't leave it with an effective start date of today, because what usually happens is during go live, you might also bring in some of the at least a current year or the previous year absence records of the employees also into the system. So if you define absence plan with today's date, then if you try to enroll people into this plan with a past date, it would throw an error saying that absence plan is not valid. So ensure that you go back at least few years back in time, or the safest thing to do is just say 1/1/51. Okay, and legislation is important. It's US that we pick up. Accrue plan type. And these are the plan types that you can configure in Fusion application. So we will configure 2 accrual plans to see 2 different flavors. And again, these are quite famous. 99.99% of the clients have these 2 types of leaves. Again, 2 different types of accruals as well. So we'll configure accrual plan. Agreement is not required. It is specific to only one country. And it's a sort of a parental agreement wherein leaves are shared by partners. We'll see how compensatory leave plan works. Compensatory is like a comp off that I explained yesterday. You work over the weekend, and you inform your manager or HR specialist. They add 1 leave balance to your account so that you can use it when you take your next absence. A donation, if that can be used for donating leaves. Employees can donate leaves to one another if required. No entitlement plan, just to capture that employee a long period of absence without any entitlements. Qualification, a classic example is maternity leave. So go ahead with accrual for the first time. So give it a name, and whatever you selected in the previous tab will show up here. And there are 5 tabs that you have to fill in data. Okay, so you say UG12, sick leave plan. And you need to mention the unit of measure for the leave plan. and I'm going to track them. Some clients track the leaves in terms of hours. So what they do is, in terms of hours, one day is equal to 8 hours, 8 working hours per day. That's how it is typically managed. So if it is days, I can mention it as 10. Or if a client follows hours as a policy, I can mention it as 80. If it is days, I can mention it as 10. Or if it is hours, I can mention it as 80. So depending on how exactly or what exactly you want to use to measure the leaves, do you want to use hours, days, calendar days, weeks, months? You can decide what you want to use. Okay, days means only working days, calendar days means all 7 days in a year, in a week. So you say days, and you need to select the legislative data group. Remember, the legislative data group is like a country specific partition which stores data within that particular country. And remember, this is LDG. You do some configurations at legislative data group level, and that includes some configurations in absence management, and main configurations come in payroll as well. So when you define a payroll and when you run the payroll, the results would get captured in legislative data group. So legislative data group, it's nothing but a country specific data partition that you have within the Fusion HCM application. And since the leaves are specific to a country, you would typically pick up a legislative data group specific to that particular country. Since we said US, you will see all the legislative data groups created with the country as United States. You can create your own if you want, or you can use the one given by Oracle. US legislative data group, set the status as active, enable concurrent entitlement. What does this mean? This means you can take this leave, a sick leaves along with other leaves. So if you're applying for an extended period of leave, so you can apply for 2 sick leaves, a vacation leave after that, and then followed by sick leaves again. So you enable concurrent entitlement so that employees, if they are eligible for multiple leave plans, they would be entitled for multiple leaves. Okay, plan category, you can define a plan category and you can use it here. Category would primarily help you in the reporting from the reporting standpoint. And these 3 options you can ignore. We don't typically use them. And plan term is very important here. Now, this is what determines what is the term that you want to consider for a plan. Okay, is it what is the year start date? You've got 2 options here, calendar year and anniversary year. So if you say calendar year, so let's say client follows Jan to December calendar year. Let's say client follows Jan to December calendar year. So in which case, what do you say? You say calendar year and you select 1/1/22 or 1/1/20, whatever is applicable, 21 or 22. Okay. So again, you can decide the plan term. You need to decide the plan term well. Depending on how many years of absence records you want to bring in, you can decide the plan term. And this is like a sample start date of an year that you're mentioning. So you say calendar year, start date is 1st of Jan. So what does that mean? It means the plan term for this particular leave plan is from 1st of Jan to 31st of December 2022. Okay. And for this particular leave plan, right, we need to front load leaves, 10 leaves per year to employee account, irrespective of the person profile, right? So since we are following the calendar year, what would happen? Every year on 1st of January, 10 leaves will be added to employee account. On 1st Jan 2021, 10 leaves would have been added, and 1st Jan 2022, 10 leaves would have been added. And some clients might follow a calendar year from June to May or April to March. It doesn't matter what is the calendar year they follow. On the first date of the year, of the calendar year that they follow, the leaves will be credited. So if any client follows June to May cycle, you would say 6/1/2022 here. Okay, so that it starts on 1st of June. Oh, sorry, 1st of June. But usually it will be a Jan to December. And you have an option to decide whether you want to display the balances to a worker or a manager. So you say always display. Yes, I display the balances to the employees and the managers. Now you go to participation tab. And in the participation tab, we're going to mention who exactly is eligible for this leave plan. Assume that you have 1 lakh employees in the application that the client has. Do you want all of them to be eligible for it? Or is it only full-time regular employees who are eligible for it? Right? So you add an eligibility profile. That is one key thing. We'll come to the other options as well. First, let's knock off the eligibility profile. And what is the eligibility profile that we have got? What is the eligibility profile that we have got? Only the full-time regular employees. Employees who are on a full-time regular assignment with active payroll are eligible for it, right? So you can go back to the absence management configurations, create an eligibility profile. Scroll down, you have eligibility profile. You can create it. And I'll also open up a sample person record to show you what is the criteria we're going to plug in. Go to person management screen and let's search for Casey Brown. Yeah. So on an assignment record, you have various attributes that are mentioned, right? So the assignment status is active payroll eligible, and the assignment category full-time regular. So yes, the leave plans, for all the leave plans that we have got from the client, they might say that only the full-time regular employees assignment category plus who are on active payroll eligible assignment status are eligible for the leave plans that you're configuring. What do you do in such case? You go to eligibility profiles and you create a new one. Give it a name.
Hi, Prasad.
Yeah, please go on.
Yeah, so if there's an employee group that are not, you don't run payroll for in the system, but you have to register benefits.
In which case you can, you can take out assignment status from the filter criteria.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just the attributes that we are picking up here. So in case clients are using external vendor to run the payroll, they might say that only consider full-time regular employees. Don't look at the status of the payroll. Okay. Yeah. So I'm defining this as UG12. I'm just prefixing this so that it's easy for us to figure out what is it that we have defined. Sick leave eligibility profile. I say eligibility profile. And it can be used, profile usage, you can mention where exactly you want to use this. And absences, if you intend to use this in absences, it would be benefits. If you scroll down, remember, you also have an option to create eligibility profile in goals, performance, and few other modules as well. Okay, so depending on where exactly you want to use the eligibility profile, you pick it up. Okay. And we will also see when we do the talent management modules, we'll see how to use create and use eligibility profile and goals and performance as well. It basically determines who is eligible for a specific plan. Assignment to use any assignment, that's what you mentioned there, and the status is active. Go with the default values. And if you look at the eligibility criteria, you notice that you have 5 tabs at the top, and under each tab you see n number of options available. So to put in restrictions or to select who is eligible, or to set up basically eligibility criteria, you have n number of attributes available. So you can say, for example, if you are defining a eligibility profile for maternity leave, who are eligible for it? Of course, it would be the female employees, right? So in which case you go to personal, gender, and you say only female employees are eligible for it. But we don't need to put in such restriction for sick leave. It's applicable for all the employees, irrespective of the gender. So if you want to set up an eligibility criteria based on personal attributes like gender, whether they use tobacco, or based on location, based on termination reason, or any other option, or marital status, etc., you can use them. But usually it will be the employment attributes that we use quite often in the eligibility profile than personal. In certain qualification-based leaves, we use personal criteria as well. So you go to employment, and in the employment, you have assignment status and assignment category, grade, job, position. So you can put in eligibility based on any of the attributes that you typically see on assignment. Okay, if you want to say that only administrators are eligible for a particular leave plan, so you can go ahead and set up an eligibility profile, go to job and say administrator, so that way. And here, what is the requirement that we had? It is active payroll, assignment status, assignment category. Assignment status is active payroll eligible, assignment category is full-time regular, right? That's what was told to us. So you select assignment status, put in a criteria, and you say active payroll eligible, assignment category. And you also have an option to mention whether you want to include these employees or exclude them. Exclude means it's like negating the employees. Assignment category. You can select, you have to be careful here. Here you have something called as full-time, don't select it. If you scroll down, you have something called as full-time regular. Select that particular option, because this assignment category should match with the assignment category you have on employees. Because when you run a schedule process, it would look at employees. If you just say full-time here, it would not match with the employee assignment related attributes, and employees might not get enrolled into your leave plan. Okay, so you can mention under each tab, you can mention under each tab you have sub tabs again, and under each of those sub tabs you can mention the criteria. Okay, so when you set up a criteria under multiple tabs within a particular option like employment. So here I said active payroll eligible, and I said full-time regular, right? So these two conditions would be linked with and, meaning only employees who satisfy these two conditions would be eligible for this particular leave profile or leave plan. Okay, and since you have so many options available here, and we'll see how to use derived factors in the next plan. Since we have so many tabs here and sub tabs, if you want to make it easy for you to or to make it easy for you to figure out what options were selected in the eligibility profile, Oracle has given this option called view hierarchy. If you click on it, it will tell you what exactly have you selected in the eligibility criteria. So I selected a values in assignment category and status under employment criteria, and that is exactly what you see here. Okay, so that you don't need to go and search in each and every tab as to what is the criteria that was set up. Save and close. Now I'm going to attach that eligibility profile here. And I don't know the status of it. So when you don't know the status, you go into advanced and you say is not blank. Okay, this would ensure that since we have attached that eligibility profile to the sick leave plan, it would ensure that only full-time regular employees are eligible for full-time regular employees who are on active payroll become eligible for the sick leave plan that we are defining. And apart from this, yes, you have some important options that you select here. Like you can mention the enrollment rules, enrollment start rule, end rule, and the enrollment start rule here would be as of event by default. You leave it that way, and whenever employee as of event here in the sense, if it could be any event, it could be the actual year calendar year start, or it could be that employee is hired. Okay, so the employee is hired on a particular date. So let's say an employee is hired on May 1st. Then yes, as of that event, the candidate gets enrolled into the leave plan. So the enrollment start rule, end rule, we typically leave it as of event. And you have something called as a waiting period here. Okay, there are two periods available in Fusion in absence management: waiting period and a vesting period. Waiting period here means some clients might say that whenever a new employee joins us, we will not let them, or we will make them wait for 3 months time before they become eligible for a leave plan. So in which case you say waiting period is 3 months. And what will happen in this case? You join a company, and until you finish 3 months, you are not eligible for this particular leave plan. Okay, and you won't start accruing balances also. The first 3 months, you don't get any leaves and you can't take leaves. Okay, that's what a waiting period means. There's also something else called as vesting period. Vesting, VESTING, vesting period. We'll see it in the next tab. Vesting period means, yes, leaves will keep getting accrued to your account, but you cannot avail them until that particular period is over. So if you say waiting period 3 months, until 3 months you don't get the leaves. Vesting period 3 months means, yes, you get leaves credited to your account, but you can't take those leaves for the first 3 months. Okay, so you can set up a waiting period as per the client requirement, and you need to decide how do you want to dispose the balance. Okay, so what are we supposed to do as per the sick leave plan? We were supposed to give employees 10 leaves per year, and we need to load it on a day 1 of the year. Okay, so let's say a client is following January to December calendar year. Yes, it is 31st of December, or you need to decide how the balance should be disposed of. And it could be because of 2 reasons when you might have to dispose the balance. Okay, so employees might lose eligibility. Here we attached eligibility profile, right? And what are we saying now? At the moment, we are saying full-time regular employees who are on active payroll are eligible for this. Let's say I am a full-time regular employee who are on active payroll. So I am eligible for this plan. Today, I get enrolled and I get 10 leaves credited to my account on the 1st of January. But maybe in May or June, what happened? My assignment was changed from full-time regular to part-time. In which case I become ineligible for this particular plan. As per the eligibility profile, I'm no longer eligible for it, right? So when my assignment changes, then what would happen? Again, there would be absence process that you schedule on a daily basis, and those absence process will know what events to consider and how to update the balances. When a particular person loses eligibility, what do you need to do with that balance? And let's say I used 6 sick leaves. I'm a full-time employee on 1st of January. 10 leaves were added to my account. I used 6 leaves till May. And in June, my assignment has been changed from full-time regular. My assignment has been changed from full-time regular to say part-time regular. In which case, what will happen? I become ineligible for it. And when absence process run, it needs to understand, or it will look at the leave plan to understand what it needs to do with the 4 leaves, because I became ineligible for it, right? I still have 4 leaves pending. So you can transfer positive balance. And when you say transfer positive balance, this means you let employee transfer balance from one leave plan to another leave plan, because he's becoming ineligible for one plan, right? Or even when the job runs, you mentioned based on the options that you set up here, the leave balance would be transferred to another leave plan. So since you're becoming ineligible for sick leave, 4 days of pending balance you have within it will be transferred to vacation leave or something. So if clients want to let employees transfer balance, not let employees, or how exactly they want to deal with a pending balance when employee becomes eligible. If balance has to be transferred to a different leave account, leave plan, then you tick this box. And when you tick this box, remember, only when you tick this becomes enabled. Until that point, it will not be enabled, because only when transfer is allowed, you have an option to set up a transfer rules. Or a disperse positive balance, meaning if your salary is 1000 USD per day, if you have 4 days of leave, assume that it's 500 USD per day or whatever it is, right? So, or 100 USD per day to keep it simple. You have 4 days of leave, then you get a 400 USD. So disperse the positive balance or recover negative balance. So what does disperse and recover positive balance? Disperse positive and recover negative balance means, meaning if you have positive leave balance, depending on your pay scale, the amount would be processed in the next payroll and you would be paid out. Those leaves would be paid out. Okay, so you can let them transfer balance, disperse or recover positive or negative balance when an employee becomes ineligible for a plan. And you can also decide what needs to happen when employee is terminated. Okay, let's say you fired an employee in June and he has 4 unused leaves. What should happen? Should you pay him on and recover negative balance in if required? Remember, why are you seeing recover negative balance? Because sometimes what you can do is, when you set up approvals, you do have an option to mention whether you want to allow negative balance or not. So what that means is, for some plans like a monthly accrual plan, right? So employees will keep getting either 1.5 or 2 leaves or 3 leaves per month. But we want to give employees a bit of a leeway there. We want to give them, or we want to let them take at least the next 2 months leaves in advance. Okay, maybe they can take up to 5 leaves, so that then the balance gets adjusted with the leaves that get added in the next month. So in such case, if there is any negative balance that needs to be recovered, the payment would be deducted appropriately. So these balance disposition rules will determine how do you want to deal with a pending balance. Okay, and remember, when you are terminating an employee or on loss of eligibility, if you say a disperse positive balance or recover negative balance, that means you are flushing off the leave account. And in which case, what would happen? There is no concept of re-enrollment. Re-enrollment in the sense when employee joins you back, or when employee becomes eligible for the plan again. Maybe I was moved to a part-time assignment in June. If my balance has not been dispersed or transferred, when and let's say I moved back into a full-time assignment in September, that means I become eligible for the plan again. In which case, if you have not dispersed or recovered balance, I still have 4 days of leave in my account when I became ineligible. So that balance would still be maintained. It won't be disposed of. And I can allow prior balance reinstatement in such case. So you have all the options that a client typically need. Whatever is a client requirement, you can set it up accordingly. If they say, sorry, boss, dispose of the balance, flush the account, keep it clean. And when it becomes eligible, we'll see what to do with it. Or some clients might say, no, don't disperse the balance, maintain the leave balance. And when employees become eligible for it, reinstate those balances. So depending on options, you can enable them. And this transfer positive balance, right? So if you want to let employees transfer sick leaves to a different leave account, you enable this. And when you enable this, you can also mention to which plan you want to let them transfer balance. Okay. So you can write a fast formula here and you can attach it. And with the help of that, you can mention to which fast formula you can, to which absence plan and balance need to be transferred. You can also put in limits there if you want. Say, for example, I've got 10 leaves added in January. I became ineligible in June. I used 6 leaves and there are 4 leaves pending. You can let employee or you can transfer all the leaves, whatever they might have, unlimited, or you can limit it by a flat amount. And you can say a maximum of 5 days can be transferred to a different leave plan. So can be transferred to a different leave plan. Or you can also put up a fast formula there. Okay. So if it's a complicated calculation that you have to do, then you can write a fast formula in HCM. We'll talk about fast formulas later on in one of the session. And yes, you can write a fast formula, plug in the custom criteria there, and you can say limit it by formula so that this formula gets enabled, and you can plug in appropriate criteria there. If you say limit by formula, this gets grayed out and a limit formula gets enabled. And we don't have any transfer limit formulas written in the application yet. So that's why you don't see any values here. Okay, so if transfer is allowed, you can set up appropriate options. Or if it's not allowed, you don't have an option to select the rules here. So you can say don't transfer the balance, but disperse and recover the balance. Disperse positive balance, recover negative balance on employee termination and loss of eligibility. And we attach the eligibility profile here. You know how this re-enrollment comes in, right? In case you're not flushing out the balance, or in case you're not disposing the balance, then you can, that means you still maintain those balances and you reinstate it if the employee becomes eligible again, or when the employee is rehired. Now you go to accruals tab. In the accruals tab, remember, you can mention, this is where you mention how many leaves should be assigned to employees. In our case, we're talking about a sick leave, right? Where a 10 leave should get front loaded for all the employees. We don't need to look at any person attributes to decide, or we don't need to assign any differential number of leaves to employees. It's always 10 leaves per year. So what do you do in such case? You say, and whenever you define accruals, right, you can mention, you can use accrual matrix here. So this is a sort of a table where you can write a condition, and based on, and when that condition is satisfied, you can mention how many leaves should be assigned for the employee. Okay, so you can write accrual matrix. You can configure the band here. So you can say if employee BU is this, assign this many leaves. If employee location is this, assign this many leaves. You can write detailed conditions here. Or if you want, you can also write a fast formula as well. So typically the fast formulas would be written by Fusion technical consultant, HCM technical consultant, because you have coding involved there. So you can, if client has a very custom and a complex absence criteria to arrive at the number of leaves that should be assigned or that should be accrued to employees. And if those, if that criteria cannot be achieved with the matrix options available in Oracle, then you quickly explain the leave criteria to the technical consultant. They would create a fast formula. And after that, they would tell you what is the formula that they've created. You come in here as a functional consultant and you tag that formula here, so that that particular formula would be executed for every employee to understand how many leaves should be credited to that particular account. Okay, so you can say matrix or a formula. And I say matrix here. You have an option to mention partial accrual period formula. So we are saying that every employee gets 10 leaves per year, right? But what if an employee has worked only 6 months in a year? How do you want to calculate the partial accruals? Do you want to create any fast formula to deal with it? Yes, you create a fast formula and you can attach it here. Meaning if client says that if an employee joins in June, don't give them 10 leaves. Don't give them 10 leaves. You can give them maybe 5 leaves because he's going to work only for half a year, right? So you can write a formulas for accrual, partial accrual period formula, and accrual proration rule, accrual method, vesting rule. Vesting rule, remember in the participation you have waiting period, right? Waiting period means employee will have to wait for that many months or days to become eligible or to get the leave balance. But vesting means, if you say vesting elapsed period and you say 3 months here, then what would happen? Yes, the employee will keep getting leave balance accrued to his account, but they won't be able to use them. Okay, vesting means leaves will be vested, but you can't use it until this period is done. You can also write a formula if you want. And in this particular case, sick leave, the balance accrual has to be front loaded, right? So how should the leaves be accrued? It's not on a monthly basis that I want to credit a leave balance to employees. It is a sick leave and I want to front load the leaves at the beginning of the year. So we'll change it to front loaded leave balance. Accrual proration rule, you can write fast formulas to prorate the leaves as per the requirement. And the balance frequency source. So this is, since we are doing a front loading here, since we are doing a front loading of the leaves, meaning on day one of the calendar year, we are loading the leaves. So this balance frequency source is not really important, but I'll explain this. The plan limits year-end processing as part of the next plan, the accrual plan, sorry, the vacation plan that we are going to configure. So this would become important when you are doing an incremental accrual, not when you do a front-loaded accrual. Okay, and you can set up a plan limits, year-end processing, etc. in case you let employees carry forward the leaves. So certain types of leaves, right? So clients say that yes, let employees carry forward unused annual leaves, but don't let them carry forward unused sick leaves. We give them 10 leaves on 1st of January, whether they use it or not by 31st of December, they lapse. And in case we don't have an option to let them carry forward or transfer the leaves, then the plan limits or year-end processing doesn't come into picture at all, because we don't let them roll over or carry over the leaves to the next financial year, in which case the limits also do not apply. So it's like I give you leaves, if you like, you use it, or otherwise they get otherwise they lapse. So we'll talk about these two options, the plan limits, year-end processing, when we configure the next leave plan. But what is it that we have to do? Yes, all employees create an accrual matrix. You say 1, and you mention the expression there. Remember, you can write detailed expressions here. You can write detailed expressions. You can look at a person-related attributes. You can look at derived factors. Okay, if you go to entities, you will be able to see all person-related attributes here. You can, if these are not sufficient, if client gives you any custom criteria, like employee should have worked for more than 1 year to become eligible for a plan, in such cases, you can create derived factor and you can use them in the fast formula as well, or you can use them in the accrual matrix. So yes, you can, this would be required. So this entity, so looking at the person attributes, would be required for a plan like vacation plan, wherein we have to assign different number of leaves based on a person, location, grade, a job, or a business unit. But in this case, it's always 10 leaves per year, right? So I'll keep it simple. I just have to say 1 equal to 1. And when you say 1 equal to 1, when does 1 equal to 1? Always, right? Meaning every employee, doesn't matter, we're not looking at person, job, or length of service, etc. Every employee is eligible for 10 leaves. Plain and simple. And you go into entry and balances, and you can decide whether HR specialist would be able to transfer the balance or do an adjustments. So yes, you have a balance tracked and maintained on this particular leave plan. If you want HR specialists to be able to perform some adjustments and transfers on the leave balance, you can enable them. And when you enable adjustments, you can also select what reasons HR specialists would be able to select when they adjust the balance. I'll refer back to this when I log into the application and show you administration as a HR specialist. I'll point you back to the screen since we are enabling transfers and adjustments. As a HR specialist, if you log into a particular employee account, or if you go to a particular employee or leave balance, you can do adjustments and transfers since they are enabled on the plan. Okay, so elective disbursements are fine. You have year-end disbursements. Remember, the year-end disbursements would be enabled would be enabled only when you say disperse positive balance and recover negative balance, right? So when you enable disperse positive balance and recover negative balance, you go into accruals. Remember, there's one more option here in the accruals here. In the accruals, you say disperse remaining balance, meaning if there is any unused balance, disperse it at the year end. So in the accruals or in the participation, you only mention what you need to do if employee becomes ineligible or fired, right? In the accruals, you mention what needs to happen at the year end. At the year end on 31st of December, if you have any unused leaves, let's pay it out. In such case, you say disperse remaining balance. And when you say disperse remaining balance, if you go into entries and balances tab, you see the payment percentage gets enabled. So this gets enabled only when you tick this box. If you don't disperse a remaining balance, if they just lapse, in such case, you don't tick that, and employees will not be paid out for unused balances. Okay. If you say disperse remaining balance, you can mention whether you want to pay it out at 100% or 80% or 90%. And you can also mention discretionary disbursements. You can also enable discretionary disbursements. And remember, whenever you look at absence management configurations, right, you can look at it from 3 perspectives. Or else I think we reached a logical stage. We'll stop here for today. Or we'll start from discretionary disbursements in tomorrow's session, because I don't want to rush through it at the last minute. So we'll pick it up from here tomorrow. Not tomorrow, on Monday. Let me go ahead and save and close this before I lose the configuration that I have done. Yeah. Any questions, guys, in what we have discussed today?
No question, but I want to know, yesterday, did we have a class yesterday?
Yeah, we had a 15 or 20 minute session because only Nitin dialed in yesterday. So I've just explained, yeah, I've uploaded the recording to Google Drive as well. I could see that you have dialed in around 6:40 or 6:45, but by the time we have called off the session, I didn't want to proceed with a new module with only one participant. But just go through the recording. I just explained. I've given a brief recap in today's session as well at the beginning of it. In yesterday's session, I've explained these leaves in detail. You can just go through the recording.
Sure. Yeah. I'll do that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, guys. Have a nice weekend. See you on Monday.
All right, thanks. Bye.